Well, essentially, John Bruton, who was the EU ambassador to the United States up until 2009, said that the practical implications of this downgrade from sovereign state to international organisation won't be too ferocious. But it does represent a continuation of the ideological perspective that we know of Donald Trump and his administration, that essentially it eschews the multilateral system. It doesn't support, for example, the WTO. It doesn't support engaging the EU as an organisation, but prefers to engage in states by states. And as we saw at the end of last year, a trade war was just narrowly averted when Jean-Claude Juncker, the President of the European Commission, went to visit Donald Trump. But we know that that could come further down the line, that there could be much more confrontation between the EU and the US over trade. So I asked John Bruton what he thought was coming down the line for the European Union and the US.
I think we should be very concerned about some other things that he and previous US administrations are doing, like, for example, undermining the World Trade Organization and undermining the dispute settlement mechanism of the World Trade Organization, which has meant that we've had a sort of rule of law situation in international trade. And he may want to return to a situation where it's the big state against the small state and the big state always winning. And that's not in our interests that should happen.
Now, we heard there from John Bruton that, even though this downgrade was symbolic, it could be a, harbinger of the relationship, the downgrading of the relationship essentially for the next couple of years. And he also told or warned Jean-Claude Juncker, the President of the European Commission, who is visiting Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. in the next few weeks, to stand firm when it comes to the EU's clout, saying that, while the United States might engage in unilateral decisions that affects trade in Europe, such as pulling out of the Iran deal, for example, not engaging in the WTO and various other areas, that Europe does have a lot of strength in its economies. And even though Donald Trump believes the United States is the stronger, the EU will also be able to retaliate. But essentially, he said, this downgrade is, from a practical perspective, not a big deal, but down the line, things could get much more agitated between the two organisations.